I am sure you must have played with some substances which stick to some other bodies. They stick to each other. They perhaps stick to your fridge. So substances like iron nails, steel, etc., they stick to these substances. These substances are known as magnets. And I'm sure you must have played with magnets before. Say you were doing some work with salt and you accidentally dropped some iron filings into it. Now how do you separate the iron filings from the salt that you have? Both are very small in size. So how do we perform this separation? There are some substances like iron, cobalt and nickel. They are magnetic substances. That is, they possess the magnetic character. And in order to separate these substances from any other substance, we use magnetic separation. How do we do this? Say you had accidentally dropped iron filings into the salt that you had. So you keep it on a paper and keep this arrangement on a table. Now bring any magnet. You can bring a horseshoe magnet or a bar magnet. All the iron filings stick to the magnet. So in this case, what did you have? You had iron filings in salt. So when you bring a horseshoe magnet, since the iron filings are magnetic in character, all these iron filings are attracted towards this horseshoe magnet. So all the iron filings are separated from the salt. So whenever we have any substance which has or possesses magnetic characteristics like iron, cobalt and nickel, we can separate these substances using magnetic separation. So in this case, we separate the iron filings from salt using a horseshoe magnet or a bar magnet. I am sure you have studied primary colors and secondary colors in your junior classes. Can you tell me the three primary colors? There are three primary colors: red, blue and yellow. When you mix any two or more primary colors, you get the secondary colors. So when you mix yellow and blue, you get green. So mixing the primary colors in different proportions gives us the secondary colors. Now that you have the secondary colors, you want the primary colors back. Once you make the secondary color, how do you get the primary colors back? You use this technique, the technique known as chromatography. This chromatography comes from two words. Chroma means color and tography means to write. So whenever we have any ink and we want to check if it is made up of different colored components, we use this technique which is known as chromatography. Let's see how this works. So now we have three colored spots. We have brown, green and red, and we want to check if these colors or these colored inks, are they made up of any other color? So what do? We make spots of these three inks on a special filter paper. We make a line, we put them on the same level. These three colored spots we mark on a special filter paper. You dip it in the solvent, and now we'll take a time lapse which is 30 times faster. This means the actual process is 30 times slower than what we are going to see now. So you see, as we allow it to be dipped in the solution, the different colored components separate out. They take different heights on the filter paper. We had the three colored spots originally. By dipping it in a particular solvent, what do we observe? We observe that those colored spots were made up of the different colored inks. So as we allow this to be dipped in the solution, the different colored inks, they separate out and they take different heights on the filter paper. So this is the process of chromatography. Now what is the principle on which this process of chromatography works? It works on the principle of adsorption. Do not confuse this adsorption with absorption. Absorption is a separate process. That is used for a bulk process. In case of adsorption, it is a surface phenomena. It means the ink components, they occupy the surface of the filter paper. So as they collect on the surface of the filter paper, they attain different heights. So adsorption is a surface phenomena. As the different colored components, they take different heights on the filter paper, that is, they are adsorbed on the surface, they separate out. And this means the higher or the greater rate of adsorption, the higher level it takes. So when we had a red ink on the filter paper, you might observe that this portion is taken up by, say, light pink, and the yellow portions travel up farther. So the yellow portion travels up farther, and the pink portion is below the yellow portion. So what happens here? In this case, yellow has a greater rate of adsorption. Since this has a greater rate of adsorption, it travels to a higher level. And since pink has a lower rate of adsorption, it travels to a lower level. So by using the principle of adsorption, we can separate the colored components of an ink. So this is the process of chromatography. Chromatography is the process of separating the constituents of a colored component by the adsorption over a particular adsorbing material. In this case, we take a special filter paper for this purpose. So using chromatography, we can separate the colored components of a mixture containing ink.